Assalamu alaikum. That polygyny video, people sent me a lot of messages. Oh, and I hope that everybody is doing well and is on their deen and trying to do their best in this crazy world. I would like to take some time to say congratulations, Black Woman Dean, and you know what I'm talking about. Doing it big Khadijah style. I'm so happy for you. Um, okay, back on subject. I received like 3 messages about polygyny, and it was funny because these women were actually attacking my views on polygyny, and of course, out of 3, 2 of them were involved in polygynist relationships, and they felt that I was making them into the enemy or the person who did wrong. I just have to take a deep breath. Let me tell you something. You're a victim because you want to be a victim. One thing I have learned in my short years in this world, that there are people who are helpless and there are people who are not helpless. I can understand if you're living in a country or within a certain culture where you can be killed for not accepting your husband's polygyny and you're forced to deal with it because you have no support. But at the same time, if you're in a developed nation and somehow, some way you can get yourself out of a situation that you don't like. If you like polygyny, stay in it. If you don't, find your way out of it. Like I said, polygyny is not for everybody. I'm sick and tired of people trying to put me in a headlock and trying to make me agree that polygyny is for everyone. No, it is not mandatory. It is not something, it's just permissible, but it's not something that everyone has to practice. So you're not going to put me in a headlock and tell me that I need to practice polygyny, or I don't think some of us realize why polygyny was even allowed, or how the Prophet was in a monogamous relationship with Khadijah for how many, until he was in his 50s. I'm not sure how long, but he was with her for a while. And so please don't sit here and tell me that polygyny is fard, because it is not fard. And that's just one thing I want to make clear. Another thing, I am not a victim. I live here in the West, okay? I have options. I don't have to sit here and stay in a marriage that I'm not happy with. That's another issue I have with certain Muslims. You are not a baby. You are not a child. You are not handicapped. You are not, mentally or physically handicapped. You are not retarded. You have eyes, nose, and ears, and a brain that functions just as properly as mine does. Especially if you're a revert, you should be able to think a little bit like a Westerner in certain things. I have watched Muslim and non-Muslim women being abused my whole life. I have watched women go back to men who they did not have to stay with, and this is a response to one of the messages that I got. I'm not speaking about polygyny right now. I'm speaking about abuse. So you do not have to stay in that situation. Women, your emotions and your attachment to your abuser is what keeps you around. And you can say children, okay, fine, stay with him for the children. Your grandchildren are going to be victims of seeing their parents, your kids, abusing their spouse or their partner. So what you're doing is actually affecting the next generation. you feel that you're helpless because your husband is practicing polygyny and he's doing it the wrong way. Okay, first thing to say is to pray. You know, prayer is great. You know, pray, 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 offer dua, you know, blah, 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 pray, 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 pray some more. 5 years later, you're still pretty much in the same situation. I want to tell you something. Allah will not help a people until they help themselves. Okay? That's something I have learned. Nobody will help you until you decide to help yourself. If your husband is mentally and physically abusing you and you're sitting there, you need to find a police station. You need to find a woman's shelter. You need to find somewhere else to go and to get away from that person. If you both have gone through counseling, or you know, if you tell someone he will hurt you, you need to woman up and you need to be brave, not just for yourself but for your children, and you need to pack up your bags and leave and go to a shelter or find another Muslim sister that's willing to take you in. Okay, people, I've been in bad situations, but either I bucked under it or I decided to fight. I've even bucked at times where I just got scared, but most of the time I prefer to fight, even if it means that I lose. No woman deserves to be in a screwy marriage, and it is very disturbing how people will sit there and say, well, you're a woman and you're naturally emotional, so you're just over exaggerating. That is completely ridiculous. I've even read some very older Islamic literature, and it talks about how women are like children. It's obvious whoever wrote this has no respect for women. I can't even read most of the literature from Saudi Arabia because it makes me want to vomit, because it is just so sexist, and it is so, it's like reading a book from like the medieval ages. It's so ridiculous that I even have to like laugh and just put my hands up and just say, okay, enough. I've actually thrown away Islamic books because it was full of crap. I hate to say it, but full of sexist ideologies, just all types of things. You are not a child. If your husband goes and takes a second wife for the wrong reasons, okay, pray, pray, pray. Pray till your knees turn red, whatever. But there's also actions that you can take. There is a masjid. There are scholars. Go and get help. And I've noticed sometimes the people within your own community aren't even helpful. So sometimes you have to step out of your community. No, so many Muslim women don't know their rights. It's like all we know is the rights of our husbands. We have plenty of rights, okay? So please stop listening to these sexist scholars and sheikhs and whatever who stop listening to some of these people because they're giving you the wrong and twisted information. So I'm just really, really tired of it. You are not a victim. Now, if you're in a country where you really have no rights, I understand. But if you're writing me from in the United States, you are not a victim. I'm sorry. My father, if there's one thing he taught me always be able to take care of yourself, always have an education, always have something, work experience, always have something to back you up. That's why I'm the Muslima who can't stay home. Like, I'm just being honest with you. I have to work. I have to have my own source of income. What if my crazy husband gets up and says, you know what, this is not working out and I want the divorce? Now, we all know they're supposed to support us for 3 months. But if you talk to a lot of Muslims, you'll find out, especially with reverts, that's not usually the case. He usually just makes up an excuse and just completely disappears. You must be able to take care of yourself. This is not Egypt. This is not Yemen. This is not Saudi Arabia. This is not whatever Islamic country that you have in your mind. Because there are Islamic countries where women do work and they are productive citizens. If you want to stay home, fine. If you have a strong family structure where if something should go wrong and you can go stay with your parents or whatever, alhamdulillah, all praises due to God, because you're very lucky. But if you're a Muslima who's on your own and your husband is being abusive, it's usually good to have a backup plan or backup money. So I'm just tired of people playing the victim. If your husband gives you $100 a week, set aside $40. Do something. Just in case he decides to wall out, and you can have a plan. You can buy a Greyhound ticket. You can go. It just really makes me upset when I go to the masjid and there's women, and it's mostly women with their hands out because their husbands are gone or their husbands aren't good providers and they have absolutely no way of taking care of themselves. It really irritates me. And then you see the other Muslima who has everything going for herself, everything, and she's not at the masjid begging, but she could easily be placed in that situation, but she's doing everything that she can to stay out of it. I'm going to do everything that I possibly can to stay out of it. That's me, and if I do end up being the Muslima begging at the masjid, at least I know that I was trying to do my best and trying to handle what I needed to. I think the structure in the West is different. I don't think a lot of sisters can afford to stay home. That is just my opinion. If you want to stay home, hey, alhamdulillah, stay home. But for me, staying home is not an option. And I really believe even if I was married, it still wouldn't be an option because of the cost of living. Have you gone to the grocery store? And that's not even an excuse. So stop playing the victim. You do not have to live in a miserable polygamist relationship. If your husband marries another woman to escape the problems in your first marriage and he's not willing to seek counseling because he doesn't want the community in his business, then you're going to be miserable and constantly praying and convincing yourself that everything is okay, but you're in a miserable marriage. No, it's not okay. You choose to be miserable. Haven't we noticed in almost every single religious book, and that includes the Quran, that people took action in their lives? Even the Prophet, may peace and blessings be upon him, even he took actions in his life. When he knew they were trying to kill him, he left. He didn't just stay. In the Bible, it shows you how a whole nation of people moved for hundreds of years in order to make change, and there were struggles. I'm just tired of some Muslim women playing the victim. You have control of your life. You have control of your destiny. I'm not advocating divorce. I'm advocating happiness. I'm advocating knowing that you have rights in Islam. I'm tired of some of these women. I'm tired, guys. I'm tired. Like, seriously, I'm doing my thing and you should be too. As long as you're not doing anything haram, then you're fine. But it seems like some Muslims feel that if you're out there too much, then you'll do haram things. I'm sorry, guys. Even before I became Muslim, I wasn't really doing anything bad anyway, so I don't have any temptations. I don't like to drink. I don't like going to the club. I don't like doing things. I don't smoke weed. I never did. I don't smoke cigs. The only thing I can say is that I do interact with men, but that's because I have to go outside. I have to say hello. I have to talk to people. That's just part of my job. So I can't help that. That's how I pay bills. And you're not a victim. Sorry. Stop being a victim. And the world is not a dark, dreary place. You just made it into a dark, dreary place. Yes, there's a lot of evils out there, but I hate to say it, sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. That means in terms of not like, oh, I'm about to take off my hijab and be a prostitute. It may mean, okay, my husband is really, things aren't really working out. Either A, I can separate and find another husband and be back in the same situation that I was a few years when I was married to my first husband, or two, try to find some way of supporting myself until I can get back on my feet. I think I'm done. That's just all I have to say. If you're married to a wonderful husband who takes care of you and you guys have a healthy relationship, and even if you have bad times, you work through it, alhamdulillah. You know, stay in that beautiful marriage. But human beings are not meant to stay stagnant. We're meant to evolve and do other things with our life. If being a housewife makes you happy, stay home and take care of your kids. But when things get rough, have a backup plan. Not, you know, it's always good to tie up your camel. It's always good to be cautious and to just have a backup plan. And for those Muslimas out there who work a 9 to 5 and pay rent and do what they need to do, married or unmarried, I 100% understand you. I'm in your shoes and I understand. So again, you're not the victim. You choose to be. Assalamu alaikum. Love you guys.